Tobias.
Hey, y'all. This is your girl, Tobias. Yes. With Can We Talk for Real? The real and the raw. Listen, real talk for real people. We are back at it again. I told y'all we are going to be doing this for the next couple of weeks. I still have my girl with me. She is riding this out with me, y'all. I'm so excited.
You can't get rid of me.
I don't want to. This is my girl, Armeater Boatwright. Listen, she is the truth when it comes to this life insurance. She has been my mentor for I don't know how many years. But
accept
listen,
that.
y'all know I believe in mentors. Listen, we don't always know everything, and I don't have to pretend like I do because I know someone that does.
I received that. Man.
Yes, and soon you will be hearing from David Thompson. He is our mentor,
absolutely,
as well when it comes to this life insurance and the importance of life insurance. Listen, y'all, we have already talked about. What was it, week 1? We just kind of gave you some of our experience when it came to life insurance. I did not want to overwhelm you all, so I try to keep it brief. But there is so much more that I can tell you. Listen, if you want to know, just call me.
Yes,
y'all already know. Last week we talked about term.
Yes.
Term life insurance, and this week I told y'all we was going to get into whole life because it is a difference between term and whole life, and we don't want to rush this. You know, we just want you all to be knowledgeable, to educate you all when it comes to insurance. We just want to try to make it as simple as possible that you know exactly what it is. You know which one is best for you, if not both. Which one is best for you and your family when it comes to this insurance. So listen, sis, let's get into this whole life because you know I love whole life. Especially like even dealing with children and having to be able to get them their whole life policies for like a little bit of nothing, up to the age of 17. When it comes to be able to get a child a whole life policy, and you can get young adults a whole life policy. Don't get me wrong, you are able to, but it's just amazing to me. So when it comes to whole life, I equate whole life and term as to whole term to me is almost like you renting insurance. You know, and whole life is like you're buying insurance. So like you renting a house or you buying a house. You know, so it's benefits on both sides. It's just what is your need for at that particular time. So let's get into it.
Well, I tell you, I am just honored that I am on here for these various episodes, and so excited. Anytime I'm around doing anything with this young lady, it's like amazing. Okay, it's just amazing. So, to talk about insurance and how important it is and how it impacts on your life and how you can customize it based on your needs is very valuable information. And when we talk about whole life, the beauty of whole life, which is different from term, is the cash value.
Yes.
You know, that you can accumulate cash. So, and the other thing is that this is for the rest of your life. Your premiums are paid for the rest of your life, unless you want a paid up whole life. And you pay it up within a certain period of time. But a whole life, normally I give people a whole life that are in either their late 40s on up. Okay, if they don't have any insurance, most definitely a whole life.
Most definitely,
because majority of the time their children have grown up. They possibly have taken care of their mortgage, and if not, we'll have mortgage protection for that, and then have a whole life. But the beauty of whole life is that it's for your whole life. And in some instances, you know, majority of final expense products are whole life products. I can tell you an example I have from a young lady who made her transition, was 80 something years old, and she had to pay pretty hefty for her whole life. And this particular carrier, which at that time I was not doing life insurance, so I just told her she needed to get in some insurance. And from not doing it, I really didn't know the ins and outs. Well, she had a graded policy. And what that means by a graded policy is either the carrier will not give the benefit if they die within a certain period or make their transition. I love transition.
Right. Which is normally like 2 to 3 years.
Exactly. Exactly. Within 2 to 3 years. But the majority of the clients or the carriers that we have they may not be able to get their benefit until 2 or 3 years, but the money that they have put in it, they will cash them out plus 10%.
Right.
So you don't lose anything.
So you're not losing anything.
You're not losing anything. So we had a graded policy on this. I call it grandma. And grandma never received a policy from this carrier. And it was based on the fact that she had a pacemaker. Well, when I talked to the agent, he knew that, the carrier knew it, and everything else. Well, I kept asking, do you have your policy? She said, no, I need my policy. And at that time, she was going into hospice. And so I went and investigated and found out that the policy she thought she had, it was a $5,000 difference. And I'm trying to figure out, no, she's been paying for this. They said, well, she had a pacemaker. Well, yeah, she did. But you agreed on giving her the policy on a graded policy. Okay. So I'm like, what are you talking about? And they said, oh, the pills she was taking was COPD. And one thing you have to recognize on a lot of the carriers that we have, our carriers allow simple standard policies, which means that those policies, you don't have to actually take an exam.
Correct.
But they look at what they call an MIB, which is your Medical Investigation Bureau. Okay, or your medicine, okay? And what they basically do is look at pharmaceuticals, what pills and what prescriptions you had. And if it looks like, certain prescriptions are for multiple things, okay? Well, she had a prescription which was multiple things, but she didn't have COPD.
Right, and so to that, this is why it's important that when your agent goes out to your home and we're asking, listen, bring me a box of pills. We're asking that we're not trying to be nosy, but what we need to do, we need to be very transparent when it comes to the insurance companies. So when you have this medication, and like so many other, it is for different things. We need to say, you're taking this for. We need to explain it, and it needs to be on the original application.
And then the thing is that she was not taking it when she got the policy, but she didn't have COPD. It was for something else. And so she managed the 2 years. I mean, it was like 4 years. We knew grandma would last longer than that. So she had the policy, and she should have. Do you know, 3 days before she made her transition, I had to go through the insurance commissioner and explain to them that, and submit to this. I mean, there was a lot we had to do. We had to get attending physician statements saying that she did not have COPD. But you think about how many seniors do you know that go through this, or people knocking on your door just randomly, and that's what happened. That's giving you a policy. And that I thank God that I took the man's name, and he's no longer with the company anymore. That are getting these type of situations before they make their transition. 3 days before she made her transition, and that she had been in this carrier for at least 4 years and never got a policy. She never got a policy from them. Okay, but 3 days before, they approved, because we sent it out to the commissioner of insurance, that they would give her the full benefit.
And that's a beautiful thing about what we do, right? Is that, first of all, it's important that the agent is with a reputable company.
Absolutely.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with these mom and pop insurance companies.
Nothing.
Okay? I'm not saying that. But when you are with a company that's been around 7,500 years, you know, and has a reputation of paying out their policies and explaining to not just the agent, but also to the client as to what they actually have. Now, when we talk about graded policies, what that means is that if you have some type of ailment, it could have been a pacemaker. It could be recently had cancer. You could be in remission. It could be a number of things. Diabetes. Absolutely. If you had diabetes before the age of 50, those type of things will cause you to be in a graded policy. It does not mean that you will not get life insurance. What that means is that you will have to stay alive.
Exactly.
Generally 2 years and 1 day. Then after that, it will pay at 100%. But it's just like Boatwright was saying, if you died within the 2-year period, it'll pay out what you paid into it, meaning that it'll pay your premium plus interest, which is normally like 10%. So that's what we mean by graded. Now, if you do not need a graded policy and there's nothing wrong with you where the insurance company says, okay, we're going to go ahead and approve this client at 100%. So that means once you are approved and you pay your premium, if you were to transition, die, then it'll pay out at 100%. So that's what that immediately. So that's what that means.
Absolutely. And you know, all these terms we've given you, it may be quite a few terms, but it's so easy to understand because, of course, the carriers, you know, they want their money and they are taking a risk, is what they're feeling. They're taking a risk.
That's
you know, but you want to make sure that you have an agent. I knew that agent. I kept his number and everything. I knew enough about insurance at that time to do that. And I called him. But, you know, there are still organizations out here that prey on African American communities and forward their salespeople to only direct them to certain types of products. You know, and they knocking on the door and everything. You just have to be, and I'm not saying all, but I'm just saying have an agent.
Have an agent
that you can go back. Exactly. Unfortunately, this agent I went back to, but he was no longer with it, so he didn't feel the need to go. I would have felt obligated. There's no way that could have happened.
Yeah, but that's part of your integrity, though.
Exactly.
And this is when you have agents like ourselves. It's not just about, okay, how many commissions or how many clients can I get this week?
Exactly.
But it's how many families can I be a part of
and protect.
You know. And I always say, once I sit at that table, we are family.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's important to me, I know it's important to you equally, that when we're going out, as like you said earlier, we're on a mission. How many families can we actually get protected?
Absolutely.
Because we've seen both sides of the fence. We've seen it where a family was protected and a loved one passed and they were able to get the policy. We also seen it where a loved one passed and they did not have a policy.
Absolutely.
And now they're trying to figure out how they're going to bury them. You know, and so it goes back to what I always say, you know, why be selfish while you're on this side of the dirt? Make sure that your family is taken care, even if you get no more than just enough to bury.
Absolutely.
Just enough to bury you. Whatever or how much you want to get, that's your business. Okay, we're not here to tell you how much you should get. We would suggest based on what you tell us. You understand? But it's up to you of how much you decided you want to make sure that your family is receiving when you go into the arms of God. When you die, it's up to you. But think about this. When you die and you don't have a policy, you're leaving a burden for your family. So what happens is not only are they grieving, or matter of fact, they don't have time to grieve because now they're trying to figure out how they are going to bury you.
Absolutely.
You know, how they're going to, what they're going to do. Is that really fair? Is that really fair to leave that burden on your family? I say not. You know, but that's from the book of Tanya. You know, I'm not here to tell you or govern how you do your family, but it is something I do want you to strongly think about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And whole life, as we say, is for your whole life. And You pay the premiums. There's a part of it has a death benefit. The other part has a cash accumulation. Mm-hmm. And so you can do whatever you want to with that cash accumulation. If you do take it out as a loan or you're borrowing against it or whatever the case may be, either you can repay it back or you can deduct that directly from your benefit. Mm-hmm. Okay, one or the other. Sometimes you have options that way. So,
I remember when I was going to see a client and because we do policy reviews. Mm-hmm. Now, just because we're doing a policy review does not mean that we're going to sell your policy. Mm-hmm. You may have a wonderful policy that might work for you. Mm-hmm. From the time that you got the policy, something could have transitioned mm-hmm. within your body. I mean, you have medical issues mm-hmm. that policy, although it could be a higher policy, it may not be one that I personally agree with, mm-hmm. but it might be best for you because at the time that you got it, you had no medical issues. Now that you're older, you may have some medical issues. And if we try to put you in another policy, you're going to end up paying more. And there's nothing wrong with this particular policy here. Now, there are some policies out there where we talked about this last week, mm-hmm. Where some of our seniors think they have a great policy and it's actually an accidental policy. Mm-hmm. This is the reason why we ask, hey, do you mind if we do a policy review?
Absolutely.
Only because we want to make sure that you have what you say you have and not what you think you have. And listen, we're not going to just have you take our word for it. Mm-hmm. We are going to call the insurance Absolutely. Company that you're with. And we're going to put them on speakerphone. And we have a list of questions that we're going to ask them. Then at that point, you can make an educated decision of what's best for you. Because it all boils down to what is best for you. We're here to aid as a resource and to assist you. Mm-hmm. I did have a client that had a policy with a different carrier. Mm-hmm. And we looked at her policy. It was me and another agent. We looked at her policy. It was like, hey, you're paying way too much mm-hmm. and it was a whole life policy. Mm-hmm. You're paying way too much for this whole life policy. She's been paying on it for years. Mm-hmm. We were able to put her in another policy with more coverage for less. Now, the beautiful thing about that is the fact it wasn't all loss. She did cancel her policy, but because she had it for so long, you mentioned it, she had cash value. So she was able to have them to send her the cash value. Or she could have just said, you said this last week, mm-hmm. but you can have multiple policies. She could have either said, I'm not going to pay for this anymore. And at that point, whatever that amount is, what she paid into it, it could have been a paid up policy. No, it would not have been at 100% as to what the face amount would be. And if you have questions about that, we can talk about that later. Mm-hmm. But she could have stayed right there, or she could have did a cash back. She chose to take the money out.
Oh, that's right.
And it was a quite little something like Absolutely. A nice something for her.
Yes.
And she was able. And with the thing about it, at that particular time in her life, she needed it.
Right.
She had just retired, and
Absolutely.
Her retirement was not enough to sustain her. But with that cash value that she was able to receive,
right.
she was really good.
See, that's what I'm
she was really good. And she was able to get another policy with more benefits, more benefit for less amount. So I was super excited for her. And that's why I love doing what I do when it comes to policy reviews, because we want to make sure that the clients are good.
Right.
Right. And again, it's not about us selling you a policy, but it's about us making sure that you are protected. It's about us making sure that your family is protected.
Yes.
And if nothing more, us giving you education.
Yes.
As to why it's important. And thank you for allowing us to even come into your home.
Yes.
I'm always thankful because they don't have to let me in.
Absolutely.
They don't.
I've been in some strangers' homes, and they didn't end up strangers after I left.
Exactly.
But they were, strangers, and they let me in their home.
They let me in.
Especially before COVID.
Especially before COVID, to sit down and have a conversation with them. Why it's important to have life insurance.
Absolutely.
And to find out why they even asked for me to even come.
Yes.
So I always ask the question, what was the reason that you even inquired about life insurance? And we have those conversations, and I'm going to ask if it's a husband or wife,
right.
I'm going to ask the question.
Right.
If you died today, will you be okay?
Exactly.
And I don't need for you to answer because you're dead. You know, so I'm gonna ask these questions because it's real.
Mm-hmm.
It's real. We seen on both sides of the fence.
Yes,
I seen it where people lapse
Absolutely.
the coverage, and their family thought they still had insurance, and there was a rude awakening when they died that realized that they never told them I have no more insurance.
Absolutely.
You know, and this is why it's important that when you do get life insurance, that you let someone know that you have life insurance in your family.
Absolutely.
Because I'm going to ask to talk to your family. I'm going to say, hey, who can I talk to give my information to that if you died, they can contact me.
And it's not like you're going to ask, tell them who's the beneficiary,
no,
how much you're going to, no.
That's not my story to tell.
Exactly.
That's not my story to tell.
Exactly.
But it is my story to say,
I am.
This is who I am.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. I think that's what, I don't want you to talk to my relatives. First of all, we are bounded by state law anyway, by privacy.
Yeah.
There's no information that I can divulge to your family member that will impede on the policy information that you've given me. Mm-hmm. So I can't. But what I will do is let them know I am your agent. I will give them all of my information, my email address. If anything happens, whether it's a stroke, whether it's a heart attack, whether it's death, disability, please get in contact with me, and I'll tell you exactly how I could possibly assist you. Or I will get to someone whose name is on there, how I can assist them.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So, yeah.
So that's what it is.
Yeah. Whole life is no joke.
Whole life is the truth.
Exactly.
I love whole life. I love term, but I love whole life. Because it gives you that cash value. So to me, it gives you that extra security. If something were to happen, where you say, you know what, I need money. And depending on how much it is, some people say, I'm just going to use this for whatever reason, and at some point they want to turn it, cash it in, to help maybe one of their children but down payment on a home or whatever. It's up to you as an individual what you need it for. But the majority of people want it just to make sure that they are okay.
Absolutely.
And if something were to happen, they have that extra security, to be able to take care of whatever it is that they take care of.
And another thing with whole life, they do, well, the ones that we deal with in terms of carriers, there are whole life out there that don't have embedded in it living benefits, such as terminally illness. Notice most of the times they don't have a terminal illness or a confinement. Say, for instance, if your grandmother or whatever is confined to a nursing home or something like that, they will pay a certain percentage every month going towards your grandmother or who. There are policies like that with whole life. And so when you pick a policy, you want to make sure that some of those elements are included. Now, a lot of times they're not included with both. We have a couple carriers that are. We have some that only have terminally ill.
Right.
Okay. Right. But the benefit is that you can get a living benefit with whole life.
Yes.
Also. Okay.
All right. Listen, y'all.
This girl's something.
I hope that this was beneficial for you. Talking about life insurance, it just gets me going because I've seen personally and professionally, the do's and the don'ts of who has it. Girl, use your words. Who has
it? Get so excited about this. There's nothing wrong with it.
And who don't. And it breaks my heart when I go to someone and it's too late.
Believe me.
And
felt that.
And we see
several
it
times.
Exactly. We see it more times than I really care to.
Absolutely.
But it is what it is. And it's not just in the Black community. I've seen it throughout all races. All races, so it's not a Black thing, it's not a white thing, but it is a human thing.
Absolutely.
Where we have to make sure that we are protecting our families and that we're leaving a legacy and not a burden. That's my motto. Absolutely. Is to leave a legacy and not a burden. Absolutely. Whatever that looks like for you. Absolutely. Okay. What it looks like for me, what it looks like for Boatwright, right. What it looks like for the next person, you know, may not be customized for yourself, and that's okay, you know, but please, I am encouraging you to get some type of life insurance policy to make sure that your family is not grieving and burdened. Yes. You know, let them grieve properly. Yes. You know, and without the extra weight upon their shoulders. Okay. Listen, y'all already know what the deal is. Love you enough to be good to you. Let's live on purpose. Let's live in purpose. Let's live with purpose. All right. Just a little bit. All right. I believe in you. You know, love you all. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for listening. We will be doing more of these. Thank you so much, my sister. Oh, keep progressing. Yes. Keep progressing. Expanding it. Yes, expanding. That's an inside joke, y'all. But thank you for stopping by, you know, these past couple of weeks and just pouring into me and pouring into everyone that decides to listen in. And listen, y'all. Listen, I'm telling y'all, David Thompson will be coming through. Oh, yes. And he's going to talk about annuities and the importance of having an annuity and what that means and all the other good stuff. I'm just going to give him the floor and let him talk about it. You know he can talk. Oh, he can talk about it. Yes, he can. You know, and I'm going to bring on other people's businesses and but definitely, we're going to home in on life insurance, okay? It is important about life insurance. And I will put Armeater's information in the body of this podcast interview, whatever you want to call it. So you can get in contact with Armeater. You know how to reach me. I am a licensed agent as well. Armeater is a licensed agent. Anytime I talk about insurance, I will bring on licensed agents that are licensed in your area, in your state, to be able to provide life insurance for you, okay? And for your family. Listen, it's not just about you, but it's about your spouse. Absolutely. It's about your partner. It's about your children. It's about your grandparents and your aunties, uncles, cousins, all of them, even your neighbors and your friends, okay? Listen, life insurance is for everybody. It is a necessity, okay? It is a necessity. So listen, y'all know I can talk. So love you enough to be good to you, y'all. Absolutely. I love you all. I believe in you, and I know that you are the best that you can be. Come on, y'all. Let's do this together, because in this, we are together, and together we win. Yes. Talk to you later. All right. Thank you so much. My pleasure. Yes. My pleasure. Yeah.